This pretty good coverage is brought to you by Power Grip, the official retail partner of the European Pro Tour.
Hello and welcome to the final event of the International European Disc Golf season. It is the EPT All-Star event in beautiful Mijas, Spain. My name is Elias Luukkonen and I have a very special guest today, the current world champion, Isaac Robinson. How are you doing, Isaac?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming. It's a pleasure. You also play this event yourself and you're actually on our feature card. How do you feel about going to the event?
It's just a pleasure to be here in Spain. Playing this course is a unique course and I'm excited to see what we have today.
Yeah, very unique for sure. It's not your typical course that you would see really anywhere else in the US or in the Europe. And on top of yourself, we have Alden here. What do you know about this fella? Pretty close friend of you, right?
Yes, we tour together a lot, and so we kind of decided last minute to come to Spain together and play this event. So he's excited to be out here as well.
Yeah, it's great to see you guys coming from all the way from the US, and here's someone European. It's the current European champion, Dennis Augustsson, incredible putter and just a great human being. And rounding out the card, Mauri Villmann, ranked first on the European Pro Tour for this year. How did you feel about the vibe on the card today?
It was a lot of fun. Playing on the feature card with these people, it was neat because I hadn't played with either of them before that I know of, and so seeing their game was pretty cool.
And we're starting off on a pretty simple hole. Hole 1 is 80 meters, extremely uphill. There's this main obstacle, the tree, in the way that you either have to go left side of as the drone is flying, or many players opting for a right-hand hyzer around the right side. You see there's that short OB area just about 7 meters short of the basket, so you need to be pretty precise with the distance control here.
MPO feature card action. First on the tee, sponsored by Prodigy Discs, your reigning world champion from USA, Isaac Robinson.
It's a pretty big crosswind right here, so I was kind of choosing between two discs. Ended up going with the H1, and very windy today, so we'll see how that works. Bit of an early release, I think, and got lifted up by the wind.
Yeah, that right to left crosswind. I feel like it was a very unpredictable wind throughout the whole day.
Yeah, the wind, I mean, with this course, the wind plays a huge factor. Alden going super overstable as well, and just gets lifted by the wind into those trees.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough position there. Really, I feel like the best place to place your disc here on this one is just slightly short or slightly left. You really don't want to push long, because if you go too far, you're going to be off the first here and into that bit of a pit. And Denka there able to fight the right to left wind that with that lefty backhand. Mauri with the same, trying to go against the wind. You can just see how strong that wind is, not really giving the disc an opportunity to push right. So he's going to be up there in the tree. Does he have any sort of a look from there?
No, actually me and him landed very, very close to each other and had no look. So you see he pitched out with a forehand, and I really didn't have a line either, and so I'm about to do the same thing.
Yeah, both of you guys still with a little bit of work left to do, especially in the wind that we had today. I feel like it affected driving a lot, but especially those short, like inside the circle putts even.
Yeah, this is definitely a tester putt. Yeah, just a little bit low. You can see it's like a straight headwind coming off that hill.
Yeah, I feel like so difficult as well, just because the hill is kind of, I feel like the hills make the wind slightly inconsistent. And Denka even, he's a really good putter. That's one of the things that did allow him to win that European Championship this year. He was just phenomenal on the green and usually known as one of the strongest putters in Europe.
So he's going to tap in his par, and then Mauri is going to hopefully clean that up as well. Yeah, he's just outside tap-in range.
Yeah, starting off with a bogey there, not quite ideal. Obviously in this wind, it's a more difficult hole than normal, but still averaging on the easier side, still averaging just slightly below par for the field. So a hole that you probably like to pick up, but no worries if not. And here's another one of them, hole 2, 81 meters, actually quite severely downhill, so 81 meters playing even shorter than that. There's a lot of space up high, so players can either choose to go backhand hyzer, forehand hyzer. Some people are going straight. What's your play here?
I'm going to be throwing a straight putter, so really just trying to control the distance and hit before the basket. If I remember correctly, there was a pretty strong right to left wind on this hole, and so definitely makes it a little more challenging to control the flight of the putter.
Yeah, for sure. And there's the OB long, so if you would have glided that too far, it would have been challenging the OB. But you're on the right side there. Is that a putt you're going to run with that elevated basket?
Absolutely not. That's going to be a layup all day. Alden going forehand. And he just cleared that bush. He's going to land about circle's edge, it looks like.
Yeah, circle's edge still very much a tough putt with that elevated basket. And a lot of roll-away potential here as well, I feel. Denka there, landing slightly on the left side, right?
Yes. He landed right next to Alden, so they both have about a circle's edge putt.
And Mauri, he's a strong forehand player as well. Trying to battle the wind on the right side. And gets a pretty good roll there. Inside the circle, is he?
Yes, right on circle's edge. They're going to be looking at some death putts, especially with the OB behind the basket. I just laid that up and taken my par.
Yeah, pretty good play. And Denka, not scared of the wind. You can see getting a little wobble on the disc, not quite able to push over, and Alden there, even from inside the circle.
It just shows how dangerous this green is. If you let it go by the basket at all, it's... Ooh, and he hits the pole and keeps him right there for tap-in.
And I gotta ask you, even on this hole that sets up pretty nice for a hyzer forehand, you're not going for that forehand. Is that like not just a shot you're very comfortable with?
Yeah, I was practicing the forehand, and it was coming up pretty short, about 40 short each time, so I'm just throwing the backhand putter.
Yep. You heard it from the world champ yourself. Just go with what you're most comfortable with. And here's a hole that I believe no one will be comfortable with in today's wind. Hole 3, we're gonna have a left to right, very strong left to right crosswind. It's already a pretty long par 3 with a distance of 142. In order to get to that top tier near the basket, you have to clear about 130 meters. So it's a long shot. Most players going with something relatively stable. In today's wind, probably mostly straight towards the basket.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know for me, I was throwing something fairly overstable, and I think you'll see these guys doing the same thing. But you can see the wind is ripping over there, so it's going to be a tough shot for sure.
I feel like this course, as it is mostly open and a lot of high shots, you have a lot of height to work with. The wind affects it even more than usual.
Yeah, so it's weird. It stayed on hyzer the whole way, but it drifted just straight right because the wind was so strong. So I'm about 60 feet right at the basket.
Yeah, really hard to see it on camera. Luckily, Alden has some loose on his shirt, so we can see the wind there. But he did the same thing, right?
Yes, Alden same thing. The disc never flipped. It just got pushed right by the wind. And Dennis here, he's going to be going with the wind with that lefty hyzer. So it's a very touchy shot for him. And I think he turns that over just a bit much, and the wind kind of knocks it down.
Yeah, so difficult with that left hand, especially with the green slightly sloping right on the right side of the basket. So even if he had gotten it all the way to the green, it would have been very difficult to sit it down. It looks like Mauri there got the same push as you guys did, so nobody really in great birdie position there.
No, they're going to be probably back edge of circle 2 looks for birdie here, which is going to be a tough putt because you're looking straight up the hill. You can see that one come up about 12 feet short of the basket. I bet Alden can't even see the basket from there.
Yeah, still giving it a pretty good bid there. That's nice to see. And while this green already you can see it's slightly sloped from that left to right from this angle, it's actually one of the safest greens on the course, believe me or not.
Yeah, the greens here are, I think, the most tricky part of the course. And that was a run. It was a really bad run. Comes out about 5 feet short of the basket.
And Mauri here, just to get a good cleanup, but he does not do it. That's already the second inside the circle miss, or the third inside the circle miss.
Yeah. The putting was definitely the hardest part about today, and he missed a couple short ones to start his round.
That's tough to see, especially as, well, I feel like a broken record saying this both about Dennis and Mauri, but both of them, as Europeans, definitely some of the strongest putters we have. Do you still feel like the stereotype of Europeans being kind of worse at putting than Americans? Do you see it while traveling in the US and Europe?
It depends. It's definitely getting a lot better. I will.
And hole 4 here, one of the longer holes on the course. It's par 4 of 232 meters, bending quite severely to the right of the tee. You see players either going for a backhand turnover or some players going for a safer forehand hyzer with a nice overstable disc. And once you got yourself down there, you have about 100 to 120 meters to approach the green. And it really gives you a lot of options. You can go hyzer over the small mountains on the right side, or you can go straight, or you can even get some flex lines if you need that extra distance. How's the wind on this one?
It's lining up to be a straight headwind, which is not ideal for this hole. So I'm taking a slightly overstable driver and trying to just flex it over that bush and kind of land it in the middle. Ends up fighting out of that and skipping a little to the left side, but I should have a line from there.
Yeah, pretty good distance even in that headwind. Probably not going to be more than not much more than 100 meters away, although the line not ideal. Looks like Alden is trying to do something similar.
Yeah, his fought out a little faster and actually ended up finding OB on that left side. There's a road over there that we didn't know about. Yeah,
the road rarely comes into play unless it's in some severe wind conditions, as it's pretty far left. And unfortunately Dennis is doing the same, not quite able to push the left-hand hyzer against the wind enough. Similar line here from Mauri. He's going to be going with something more overstable, and that's a good safe play.
Yeah, the wind flipped that a little bit much, but he shouldn't have too much trouble from that side.
And you viewers, you can already just sense how strong and unpredictable the wind is right now. It's gonna be the same for the whole entire day, as we see Denka there just pitching out from the bushes to not quite the ideal position.
He's going to have to scramble a little bit to save that par, but it shouldn't be too difficult. Mauri here with the forehand, kind of up the gut, lifts a little bit onto that right side hillside, but he should have a clear look at the basket.
Yep, I'd say you'd rather be on the right side, because there's OB left, right where Alden is here. But if you're right side and high, there's really no danger, aside from some spiky bushes. But that was actually a pretty incredible shot from him.
Yeah, Alden going out and over the hill and landing it well within circle one for a chance at a par save.
And Denka trying to flex it down there on that right side. He did stay up on the shelf, so likely not going to be a very good par chance for him, but a pretty simple approach from there. And what are you doing here?
Going high hyzer with a very stable disc and hung it out a bit wide, so I'm going to join the other guys up there on that hill looking down at the basket.
Yeah, you can just see why this hole was the most difficult hole of the day. Playing with 0.7 strokes above par average, that's a crazy high average for a par 4. How would you rank this hole as par 4s in this wind that you have played throughout the season?
Right in the middle, I think. It's not too difficult, and you would like to get it, but at the same time it's very tricky to get. We see Dennis just pitching up there, just outside the bullseye for his par.
And Mauri here, he didn't have a great approach from up there, so this is unfortunately going to be already the 4th miss on the 4th hole that we see from him. And that's something not only for this round, but for this tournament that he will need to fix.
Yeah, and there's a little putting mishap from Alden as well. The wind was a little swirly once we got into the gully there, and just lack of confidence on that putt.
Denka having no problem there though. And you can see possibly a little bit of frustration from Mauri. Usually a very calm player, and still feel like he's holding himself still very well. But that's I feel like that's more emotion from him than we have seen throughout the season.
Yeah, that +3 start is obviously not ideal, so it's very understandable why he would be having some frustrations out here.
For sure. And we're moving on to a pair of couple of very long par 3s here. Hole 5 first, 131 meters. Have this OB road on the left side that you have to get right off to stay in bounds on the hole. Other than that, it's mostly just an open hole with a couple of very big bushes that you would either like to get right off or over. What are you playing here?
I'm going to be trying to throw it over the bushes. I think we had a decent wind on this one, so we'll see. I have that D1 in my hand, so I'm do a little flex line over the bushes and try to drop it by the basket. And a little turn out of the disc, and it's going to be hyzering in quite nicely, and thankfully didn't get a huge skip, so I stayed very close to the basket.
Wow, that's a pretty impressive shot in the unpredictable wind. And Alden there, a little bit wide, a little bit short.
Yeah, just a bit low out of the hand, I think. Got Dennis with the left-handed kind of flex line, it looks like, and gets caught up in the bushes short of the basket.
A pretty tough lefty hole, having to challenge that left side OB either with the turn or with the hyzer all the way. And Mauri there, rather making the error on the right side, not to challenge that OB, and he's likely gonna have just a chip up for the par.
A bit far on the approach there for Dennis, but still within the circle, I think. He'll just have a couple bushes to deal with. Alden with the textbook upshot from there. Should have a tap in.
And Mauri possibly trying to correct on some of those putting mistakes with a huge make there, but that's not gonna be the case. And this green, while once again it's one of the flatter greens on the course, as Denka makes a good putt there, there's some nasty bushes just long. I was actually about 5 meters away on this hole today myself, and it's almost no putt from there.
Yeah, if you throw it into those bushes, they are very thick, very hard to get out of.
And Mauri once again. What are we seeing right now? This is not the player you would expect to miss a putt on every hole so far.
Was able to get that nice birdie, 1 down through 5. Not too bad of a start. And then the rest of the guys cleaning up pars with a bogey from Mauri on the 5th.
Yeah, being under par on this day was definitely not a small task. There was very few, once you started your round, there was even very few under par scores on the course at that time. And we're moving on to another very similar hole to the last one, at least as far as the shot shape that you're likely to be taking. Long par 3, 129. You're going over a bit of a valley, but then back uphill, so probably pretty flat, that 130 of distance. There's that big wall on the left side that if you hit, you're probably gonna be okay, even though your disc is getting probably a big hit. But if you go over the wall to the left, you're gonna be OB.
Be throwing a hyzer over the trees. You see the wind messing with it a little bit, but ultimately it ends up swinging back left and should have about a 28-foot putt looking at the basket.
What was the direction of the wind on this hole for you guys?
I believe it was a left to right wind. You can see Alden's kind of drifting that way. Comes out a bit low again and catches the trees.
Yeah, gonna be likely a pretty easy par from there. It's really an easy hole to par unless you find that OB off the tee. But it's quite a long distance to pinpoint your way down there to the basket. And Denka here, difficult shape for him as he has to go for a bit of a flip-up turnover in the crosswind.
Mauri taking the high hyzer. He's got the height on it, looks like. Yes, very nice shot. Probably about 15 feet from the basket.
Yeah, that was very good, and showcasing some of the power that he's got. I feel like he's an underrated guy for the power, mostly known for the putting and precise shots.
Alden with the pitch up there, looking at about a 28-footer, and airball it to the right.
Yeah, that was not the prettiest one there. Luckily the wall on the backside not leaving any longer comebackers, and good to see Mauri here on the board with a great drive and a good cleanup there, you know. It's not an easy putt even from that short distance after missing multiple in a row.
Yeah, it was good to see him make that one, kind of get the confidence back on the putt. Dennis with the cleanup 3, and I'll be looking at about just a little tap in for par.
And talking about like those putting mishaps, you're also known as a good putter yourself, so how do you kind of get over those multiple missed putts in a row?
Yeah, you just gotta think about the shot in front of you and yeah, when you've missed a couple putts like that, you just got to put them out of your head and focus on the next hole. There's always more holes to play.
Yep, and on this course a lot of birdie opportunities, especially this next one, hole 7. Pretty short hole, especially going slightly downhill, 103 meters. Once again, a pretty open one. You can really pick your line here, but most players either going for a straight line or left to right moving, possibly a forehand hyzer or for Denka backhand hyzer. You don't want to land left side of the basket because there's a big slope. This is going to start the difficult greens of this course.
Yes, we're going to see a lot of death putts, a lot of difficult greens. Difficult to stick with the drive. It's going to be very interesting to see these next couple holes. Mauri going forehand, something overstable. It's fighting that wind. Skips just a bit long, and you can kind of see it just roll and slide down the hill. I'm going to be going a straight putter, which is right at the basket, and it's looking pretty good. And it catches a rock and stays within circle one, probably about 25.
A pretty good rock hit there. Looks like the disc had a lot of speed going forward. And as we saw from Mauri, really easy to go down that hill. Alden there, he's playing the hillside really well.
Yes, the forehand shapes up really well for this hole. You can kind of crash it in right next to the basket. And we see Dennis going backhand. It's going to be a little low. And that actually took a bad roll. You can't see it on camera, but he rolled all the way to the bottom of the hill. And it's going to be a hike down and quite the hike back up towards the basket.
Yeah, that's a tough break there. And Denka having to go forehand with that AVR 3, I believe. He's very good with those short forehands.
We see Mauri pitching up he'll have that for par. I'm just on the other side of the hill. And miss it short. And thankfully doesn't roll all the way down the hill, but still have a little work left for the par. And kind of correct off the second putt there, cash that for par.
Yeah, good to make that comeback. Still keep the round clean. Only player on the card so far not to have a bogey on their card. I feel like that's, especially for this first round, that we had the unpredictable wins. That's the game plan. That's going to win you strokes. If you don't take bogeys, you're really not going to lose to the field.
Yeah, that's always the game plan, especially tough conditions like this. You just want to take your birdies when you can and then not get the bogeys. Alden with the nice tap-in birdie there. And we're going to hole 8.
Yeah, hole 8. We're continuing on the theme that there's a lot of space up there above the trees. You can really shape kind of whatever line you'd like. Only line that's missing on this one is the wide hyzer. You have some early trees on the right side, which either force you going for a straight shot, a left to right moving shot, or you can swing it just a bit from the right side of the basket. I feel like that's a common play here, going with something pretty stable, just trying to hammer it slightly on the right side of the basket.
Yes, and I think you'll see a lot of the guys do that. There was probably about a 15 to 20 mile an hour headwind on this hole. And so that makes this hole, it's only 371 feet, but it plays a lot farther. Alden gets lifted up a little bit, and he'll probably be circle 2, looking up at the basket.
Yeah, the line looks pretty good out of the hand, but you never really know with this wind. And Mauri here with the forehand. This is a huge forehand if he wants to reach it. Playing in this headwind, probably playing closer to 140, 150 almost.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to reach with this wind unless you have some insane power. I got flipped over pretty quickly out of the hand, and I'll have a little scramble shot up to the basket.
Yeah, this hole is another one of those holes that does offer a lot of danger on the green. And Dennis here, where is this going? He has flipped it over to the left. There's that hillside sloping from right to left, and how far down there is he?
He actually hit a tree, so thankfully he didn't cross that OB line that's over there on the left. But you can see coming up, he's going to have a tough shot. Mauri with a very, very nice approach, stays very close to the basket.
You could see his disc dancing up there. That's a very common see on this course. Many players just hoping so often on the course, just hoping that they're going to stick.
Yeah, there's we've all had obstructed upshots to the green. Alden has a circle 2 look and just barely high. You really hate to miss high when you're shooting uphill like that, but somehow he did.
I like his putting stroke. He kind of has that very smooth, spinny putt. Probably good in today's wind.
Yeah, Alden's putt is very consistent usually. Not off by much if it is off. Does the same thing every time. A couple of cleanup for pars around the green here. Ooh, almost a spit out. Stays in the basket. And we're on to the 9th.
Yeah, nobody really with the hottest of starts so far, but we just can't overplay how difficult it is in the conditions that we're playing in. Now we have a pretty short hole, only 78 meters, but going somewhat uphill. The drone is flying down this straight fairway between the tree branches, but really most players going for the high shot here, either for a high flex forehand or some sort of a high flex backhand. Was there still a headwind on this one?
Yes, and we're going the same direction as hole 8, so it's very similar wind. You're going to see a lot of people going up and over, like you said. I don't think anybody really takes the straight at it line. Alden with the high flex forehand is going to end up probably about 30-35 over a gully looking at the basket.
You're playing possibly a little bit longer than normal with that headwind, having to expose the nose of the disc going uphill. And Mauri here, similar plan, but a bit better execution there. He doesn't have much distance left. You see this couple of trees at the end of the shot. Very good play also here, just to hit some of those trees at the end and stick.
Yeah, if you can crash right next to the basket and stay up anywhere within the circle, you're going to have a good look at birdie on this hole. Dennis going with the high lefty backhand and almost going in the basket. I thought he made it from the tee. It was a great shot by him.
Perfectly done there. And you have a bit of a distance left here.
Yeah, I was just pitching up for par. Not a whole lot I could do from that spot. Alden's got a tricky little putt. And he cashes it. Perfect height, right in the dead center. It's going to be a nice birdie for him.
Yeah, that's nice to see. That was the kind of putt that you would love to see with from a player with his putting style, just able to hammer it straight. And Mauri, also with a good birdie here. After the rough start, he has kind of gotten it together.
Yeah, he's gone 2 down through the last 4, getting back down to +2. I tapped in a par there, and Dennis with the pretty easy putt here for the birdie, and he converts, and we are moving on to the back 9.
Pretty even scores throughout the card there. You being the only player who was able to keep it clean with no bogeys. And taking a look at the top 10 here. Hjalte Jensen, great 4 under front 9 in these conditions. It's truly a difficult course. Pekka Hyvönen, 3 under also. Young guy from Finland. After that we have a cluster of players at 2 under and 1 under. It's really anybody's game at this point. A lot of birdies to be had on the back 9, a lot of bogeys as well. Thank you, Isaac, for being here with me. It was a pleasure doing commentary with you.
Yes, thank you for having me. It's been a blast.
And we will see you, viewers, on the back 9. Thank you for watching. If you want to support MDG, you can do that on Patreon, or if you don't want to pay, liking and subscribing on YouTube will do just perfectly. See you guys on the back.